Howdy folks, I'm Brian, and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I a jerk for not buying my daughter another water bottle after she chewed through the straws on hers? My daughter is 14 and she chews on everything, especially anything made of silicone. She has anxiety and sensory issues, so I think that's why she chews on stuff. In June, I got her a water bottle and it had a silicone straw lid. I didn't think anything of it because she's never broken anything she's chewed on before. Last week, she came up to me and said that she chewed through the straw on her water bottle and asked me to take her to buy a new one. I said no, and that she can use one of her sister's bottles. She bought 3 water bottles and covered them in stickers. She doesn't mind people borrowing them. Until she buys herself a new one. She threw a tantrum because she hates the way the stickers feel on her hands. And I told her that she should have thought of that before she broke hers and sent her to her room until dinner. She called her dad, my ex, and told him what happened and that she can't drink water at school because of me. She refuses to take plastic bottles too, and the water fountains at her school are shut off due to COVID. And when he picked her up yesterday, he told the kids to leave the room and berated me for not buying her a new water bottle and wants to go to court for full custody over this. He completely undermined my parenting and bought her 2 new water bottles with replacement caps and some necklaces for her to chew on. I already told her that I don't want her wearing those. My daughter said she doesn't plan on coming home when her dad's custody time is up, so I wanted to see if I was in the wrong. And then the edit is, okay, I'll go to the Dollar Tree and buy her a freaking water bottle. Alright, OP. In this particular case, I do think that you're being jerkish. I think that you probably should have gotten her a new water bottle, especially if she has sensory issues and she couldn't use her sister's water bottle. I think that's the bigger issue here. She has sensory issues, so using the water bottle with stickers on it might be very difficult for her. Chewing on plastic is not necessarily good, and hopefully her doctor or therapist, if she has one, is aware that she's chewing on things, and her dentist. I think silicone is probably a little easier on the teeth. I'm really not sure here. It's probably not any different than chewing on gum, for instance. This is a sensitive situation because, sensory issues are sensitive, and she should be able to have comfort items that help to assuage her sensory issues. This, I think, is certainly, within the realm of reasonable accommodation for her. I don't think there's anything with accommodating her sensory issues, but I do think they need to be done in a safe and healthy way that, you should consult with your doctor over and your therapist, her therapist if she has one again, so that everyone can come up with a good solution that's going to work for her that isn't unhealthy for her either. You're the jerk previously info. Some necklaces for her to chew on. I already told her that I didn't want her to wear those. Why? So this seems less about the bottle and more about a pattern of minimizing or disregarding your daughter's sensory issues. I get wanting to encourage respecting possessions and cutting down on waste, but why are the alternatives like necklaces not allowed? A $10 bottle with a 9-month useful life also doesn't seem too crazy to me. Is there a reason that this is a hill to die on? I just feel like your ex is jumping to fight for full custody indicates some details are missing here. Yeah, that does bring up a valid point. Like, if the ex is, trying to get full custody, there may be very well some information we're missing here, and some good reasons for that. Munchables are great for chewing on, and they come in necklaces and also pencil toppers. They are only $15 and pretty indestructible. It would be cool if they made reusable straws. So the quick FAQ on what Munchables are. What is chewelry? Chew plus jewelry. Munchables are chewable jewelry that diverts chewing from fingers, clothing, and pencils, acting as a discreet, stylish sensory aid. They provide children with a focus point which can help filter out their extrasensory information. Sensory jewelry may help regulate attention, concentration, emotion, and other behaviors. And the Canadian Association of Occupational Therapists recognized Munchables' sensory jewelry for their ability to replace inappropriate chewing behavior, i.e. chewing on fingernails, pencils, or clothing, and to provide potential regulating effects for the sensory system, reducing fidgeting and promoting attention and focus. And apparently they're made of child-safe silicone. So yeah, that's what Munchables are. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for threatening my brother with a restraining order if he went anywhere near my niece? I'm a 32-year-old male, and I've been the sole guardian of my niece, a 13-year-old female, for most of her life. Her parents, my sister and brother-in-law, both died a few days of each other when she was a few months old, so I'm the only parent she knows. I have a half-brother, L, who's a 33-year-old male who started living with us when I was 7. My dad made it super clear which of us he liked better, and despite his troublemaking tendencies, both my father and sister were very lenient on him. Here's why I don't think I'm the jerk. L is partially responsible for S being orphaned. I won't get into the details here, but it was a drunk driving incident. L made it out, brother-in-law died on impact, and my sister a few days afterwards. L was indicted, and I don't know how he did it, but my dad got him out. Then L disappeared for over 10 years. He only showed up a few months ago, completely sober and with a family of his own. The first thing he did when he got back was ask to see S, and I told him no. He said he understood, and that he promised not to contact S until I allowed it. Except about a week ago, I found out he's been constantly coming over to see her at school. His wife is a teacher. Worst thing is, S doesn't know who L actually is. She just thinks he's a favorite teacher's husband. When I found out, I tore him a new one and threatened to report him to the police and place a restraining order on him. He doesn't deserve to know her after what he did. After he caused me to be a parent at 19. My dad wasn't granted legal custody of S because he had previously been reported for child neglect when I was 16. I applied for emancipation that same year. Brother-in-law side of the family is extremely wealthy, but awful to the core, so I fought for custody of S. Why I might be the jerk. It was no secret my sister favored L. L was the charming one, while I was always hiding behind a book. She was the only one who stayed when he was drinking and using underage. She would forgive him for literally everything. She would have wanted him to know her daughter. S is also upset with me because I banned her from talking to L, as well as filed a petition to get her moved to a different class. The only way I can convince her is by telling her who L really is, but how do I do that to her? Alright, OP, I certainly understand your hard feelings in this situation, and for them to go behind your back like this is pretty awful. You know, the thing is that L said he was going to wait until you were ready, and he might have actually had a shot someday to see his niece, but I think he kind of blew it in this situation. I mean, again, I think what he's trying to do here is he's trying to reconcile his feelings. And he probably feels guilty and bad for what happened all those years ago, and maybe he feels by talking to your daughter here that this is a way of kind of helping him to get over those feelings. And that's not fair to her, and it's not fair to you. I think at this point in time, you probably need to tell your daughter who this individual is. I think you probably need to explain to her the situation, and that way she is aware and is able to come to her own decisions and conclusions here. And again, she's going to eventually grow up, and then at that point in time, she's going to be able to make her own decisions about who she wants to see and who she doesn't want to see. And while you might have a lot of resentment and anger towards this situation, she may just be curious about who L is. And you're not going to be able to stop that curiosity, and she may just naturally gravitate to him. So you should tell her about this, and you should give her a chance to make up her own mind about the situation, because it's going to be a hard thing on her to learn about this, especially the longer you delay it. That's just kind of my opinion here. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk. You should really report your brother's wife. She's a teacher who went behind a parent's back and let a child in her care meet a grown man who she knew was not allowed to see the child. This is a massive deal and the school needs to know about it. Speaking as a teacher, I absolutely second this. And regardless, a teacher's husband visiting the school so often just feels weird to me. Is he background checked? Is he being supervised? Or does he just wander around? Most schools don't want people on site who have no actual reason to be there. I would see it as a serious safeguarding risk. Alright, our last letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to delete a GPS app that my fiancé uses with me because it makes my friends feel uncomfortable? So I'm a 23-year-old female and I go jogging every evening in my neighborhood, and it's something I've done since I was a teenager. It's one of the few forms of exercise I can actually keep up with given that I work out a lot. I have this GPS tracking app that my fiancé, a 25-year-old male, also an avid jogger, uses with me when one of us goes out on our own just in case something were to happen, like a fall or, God forbid, an abduction. We live in a rougher part of town as it's the only thing we can afford now that both of us have lost our jobs in 2020. 3 days ago, I had some dinner with a few of my friends from my old job to catch up right after I went jogging, and things were going good up till my fiancé called me and asked me if I was okay. I forgot to let him know that I had finished jogging, and after a laugh, we hung up. My friends started asking me all sorts of questions and giving me the stink eye. When I explained what it was, they all immediately started hounding me with, "That's really toxic, doesn't he trust you? It's the insecurity for me." And, "Sounds like he's being controlling, girl." They all started saying I need to delete this app because it disturbs them when I'm out with them, but I flat out refused. Now I could understand if this wasn't about jogging, but that's all it was about. We never had any other type of problem like they were suggesting, so I pretty much told them that I'm sorry that it bothers them, but they needed to mind their own business and that I'm not going to delete it since there's nothing wrong with it. Since they've all pretty much told me that they're just trying to help me, that I'm being rude for not seeing their point of view, I'm starting to feel like I may be being childish. I don't mean to make them uncomfortable, and I'm sure if they saw something wrong, they'd tell me. We're all friends after all. Am I the jerk for refusing to delete the app? I feel like I might be the jerk because it makes them uncomfortable, and I don't want to cause any of that. But at the same time, it's my phone, and I feel like I should be able to do with it what I please. Edit. I forgot to add that we usually turn off our tracking apps after the run. On this particular day, I decided to jog to the restaurant figuring that I could knock out 2 things at once, and forgot to turn off the app. I apologize for not clarifying sooner. Alright, OP. No, in this particular case, I don't think that you're a jerk, and I don't think that your friends have any right to feel uncomfortable about this. It would be different if he was monitoring you all the time, and like calling you up constantly and being like, "Hey, why are you here? Why are you there?" and stuff like that. That would be completely understandable for them to question this and say he was being controlling. In this particular case, the app worked as intended. He noticed that you stopped jogging for a while and got worried and concerned and then called you. In fact, I would be more worried in this particular case if he hadn't called you, because then that would mean that he probably wasn't paying attention to you. So, in this particular case, yeah, I think the app worked as intended. You don't have this on all the time. You two aren't required to keep tabs of each other when you're not jogging. The only time that you two really look out for each other is when you are jogging, and I think that's reasonable. It's a little odd that you forgot to mention to your husband that you were going out to eat, or maybe he looked at that and said, well, she hasn't turned her app off yet. Maybe I should check on her to make sure she hasn't fallen down or something like that. So, I don't know. There could be a reasonable explanation for it. He might have just been worried. And, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing or a red flag in this situation. So, yeah, I don't think that you're a jerk here. And I think that your friends just kind of need to mind their own business in this case. Not the jerk. Remind them that you two like to keep track of each other. You've his GPS location too, and he'd agree to delete it if you insisted. It's weird how low-key gang-ups are accepted in social behavior now. Me and my wife both have each other on Google's Maps. It's nice to know where the other person is, if they've had an accident, to pick something up at the store, if they've just left work yet. She also has been abducted too. She's on the nervous side. Also, it's not like he called and was all like, "Where are you? Why are you there? Who are you with? Why didn't you tell me you were going? You need to come home." He literally just wanted to make sure she was okay. If they think that's toxic, then they're the toxic ones. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.